Alrighty. And if anybody does already have questions for me that you know that you want to ask, go ahead and pop them in the chat so that we get to them. This webinar is going to be a little bit different than normal because we've got some bigger topics that I'm going to walk you all through, and we will be posting this to the YouTube channel as well. So a little bit of a how-to at first, and then we will save questions for the end. So if there are questions that you know you want to ask, just pop them in the chat, but then we will also come to a time where I'll ask for questions. Let's see. All right, we've got just a few people. Wait a couple more minutes. All right, well, anyway, it looks like our meeting room is clear. So we've just got a few of you on today, but I'm still gonna make this a nice detailed webinar for everybody who does watch online with us today. You're all important, but everybody who watches the webinar recording as well. So I'll start off with just a little introduction. If you have not heard from me before, my name is Allison Jokinen. I'm actually now product manager here at Lead Sherpa. I have online with me today Amber Strong and Laura Donovan, and they are part of the success team. So Laura is actually replacing my previous role as customer success and support manager, and Amber has been on the team since July now as your customer success rep. So if you guys need anything ever, do reach out to any of us. If it's an urgent request, always use the support email, which is support@leadsherpa.com. That's where you'll get your quickest reply. But if you're kind of looking for bigger picture answers to things or want a Zoom call to walk through your account together, you may reach out to or request to speak to Amber or Laura. All right, so let me close this now. I've lost my mouse yet again. All right. There we go. All right, so let me shrink this guy. And so, as I mentioned, you know, we've got a couple hot topics on the docket today, one of which is the Twilio integration, and the other is actually our new list stacking software, which is still technically in beta. However, we're at the point where anybody who wants access to it can have access to it, and we will, in the next week or so, probably just be giving it to everybody as a default. But if you like what you see today, do reach out to us and say, hey, I would love access to your list stacker. It's called PropStack. And we will give you access before we give it to everybody. But first, I'm going to talk about the Twilio integration. So you can see here under the Manage App Integrations, this section to integrate Twilio. And so we added this a couple months ago now, but we're just getting people slowly moving over. But I want to talk about it today because there are huge benefits to integrating Twilio. So Twilio, if you don't know what it is a phone number provider, basically, where you can set up your own personal account with them and add as many phone numbers as you want. You need at least 30. And use your own phone numbers that are not under the Sherpa umbrella. So you're really in charge of your own phone number reputation and what happens with those phone numbers. So that's just one of the benefits, is that you're, you know, not connected to all of these other accounts. But the huge benefit to it is the fact that you can send to Verizon. So right now, if you're not using Twilio phone numbers, you may not even realize it, but 40% of your prospects are being skipped because Verizon has said, no, we're not accepting text messages from these text message platforms anymore. So Sherpa's not the only one, but they've kind of really cut off any traffic coming from similar services to our own. And so by creating your own Twilio account, again, because you're not under this Sherpa umbrella, you will not have this Verizon block because it's your own individual account. And so you will reach 40% more of the people than you are currently reaching, which is huge. There has to be deals in there. Imagine you are just reaching 60% of your prospects, there's deals in there. There's got to be deals in this other 40%. And so it's huge and just a huge benefit to integrating a Twilio account. So that fact alone, everybody should want to head over to signing up with Twilio. It's really easy to create an account. It's just like an email verification, basically. It's free to create the account, but then of course you pay for the phone numbers and the traffic, which I'll talk about in a second. However, the other benefit is that when you do have Twilio in your template settings, the opt-out language is optional. Now, I say this with a little bit of, I guess, an asterisk at the end of my statement, because we still really suggest that you include opt-out language. It's going to help you mitigate getting flagged as spam. Carriers want the opt-out language on there, and if you're not including it, then they're more likely to flag you and potentially even suspend your Twilio account. However, we have made it optional because, again, it's your own Twilio account. They're your numbers. You can do whatever you want with them. But we have added this option here to enable opt-out language. And so at the end, it will say reply stop to end. If you do turn it off, we still suggest adding your own opt-out language. So maybe instead of having reply stop to end at the end of your template, maybe you want to put something a little more natural sounding in the middle of your template that still gives the prospect the option to opt out. So maybe you say, hey, I'm interested in buying your home at property street address. If you're not looking to sell, you may reply stop, however, and so you can kind of make it sound a little bit more natural. So even if you turn this off, we'd still suggest putting the opt-out language. However, again, they're your phone numbers, it's up to you, and so it's not required. So that's another benefit on top of being able to send to Verizon. And so now I'm just going to show you kind of quickly how to integrate your account. It's really easy. So you create your Twilio account. They ask, I think, 3 things like name, phone number, and email, and then you can create your account. Then you'll see this, and then you'll want to go to the phone numbers section. And then you'll need to come in here and actually buy your phone numbers, because again, it's your account, so you have to initiate everything. So you're going to want to click buy a number from this button or on the left side here. And then you say, you know, what country you're in, which is going to be the United States, and then the area code you're looking for, match to first part of number. And then we want it to at least have SMS. Most of the numbers that come up have all of these anyway. But we want actually SMS and voice at least. So we can hit search, and then it will return all of their available phone numbers that meet those criteria. So I can see here, these are all 720 numbers. So we need to buy 30 phone numbers. If you don't have 30 phone numbers, you won't be able to send messages from Sherpa. And that's because, although again, it's your phone numbers, your Twilio account, if you have less than 30 phone numbers, you're likely going to be flagged as spam. You're going to kill your phone numbers. So you need that minimum still in there. So these will then be, if you have 30 phone numbers, $30 per month. But once you have those 30 phone numbers, you come back to your console dashboard. And then all you need is this SID and token. And so it just allows you to copy them really easily here with, if you just click on this icon, head over to your account settings, manage app integrations, pop them in there, and ours is integrated, but you just hit integrate. And so it will take a second to integrate as it's, you know, speaking to Twilio, but it will tell you when it's done. It will just be about a minute. And once you're done, you can come over here and view your Twilio phone numbers. Once you do that and confirm that it's active, you want to come to your campaigns, and you do need to reassign the market so that it knows what phone numbers to use. So when you first do this, you still have all of your original Sherpa phone numbers, so you can still use them for follow-ups, continuing conversations. It's not going to cut it off completely. But come here and then choose your Twilio market. I don't know why it's not showing up here. I think I might have to refresh. All right, let's see, edit. Oh, it's not showing up. Maybe we renamed it. Actually, I think I renamed it test. Anyways, it will show up here and say Twilio. This is our account that we just test a bunch of stuff with. And so we change things all the time and throw myself off in a webinar, but it will say Twilio here. And so you'll select Twilio, hit save changes, and then you'll see that Twilio is here as the market, and that's how the system knows to use your Twilio phone numbers. If it still says your original market, it's still going to use your original Sherpa phone numbers. And so you may want to do that for a follow-up campaign for wrapping up conversations, but the end goal is to get everything over to Twilio so that you're reaching all of your Verizon people, you have your optional opt-out language, and you're in control of your phone number reputation. And so once that is done, and once you've actually wrapped up your conversations with your lead Sherpa phone numbers, your last send and last receive date has gone by a little bit, and you feel comfortable to release your lead Sherpa numbers and be Twilio only, let us know when you're ready to do that, because we can release all of these phone numbers in bulk instead of you having to do it one by one. So we can do that for you. And once we do that, we will also apply a discount to your account. So if you're actually brand new to Sherpa, some of this won't actually apply to you because brand new Sherpa accounts are Twilio only anyway. However, if you are in this transitional period between the original Sherpa numbers and Twilio, let us know when you're ready to drop them. We will drop them and apply the discount. And so if you actually go to leadsherpa.com, you'll see the pricing updated because all of our new users are already have this discount applied because they are Twilio only. So my internet's been struggling a bit today, and please, Amber or Laura, let me know if I am choppy at all. But you can see here on the core, it's $400 a month. Previously, it was $500 a month. Pro, $800 a month. Previously, $1,000 a month. So just let us know again when you're ready to drop those Sherpa phone numbers, and we will apply this discount of $100 or $200 to bring your monthly billing down. There's also additional uploads. So this went from 10,000 monthly uploads and 25,000 to 35,000 and 15,000. So again, let us know when you're ready to drop your Sherpa numbers. We will update your monthly upload limit and apply that discount. Let me see, did I miss anything that I wanted to say about Twilio? Oh, of course. So there are additional costs with Twilio, because again, it's your own account, it's your phone numbers, so you're actually going to pay for the traffic that happens with those numbers. And so the cost for Twilio is 0.0075 cents per incoming and outgoing message, and that's kind of hard to fathom. So if you are sending, if there's a total of 10,000 messages, that's going to be $75 a month. And so on top of the $30 per month for your phone numbers. And so around $100 a month if you have a total of 10,000 messages happening per month. And that's why we've done a $100 discount on the core and $200 on the pro, because if you're on pro, you're going to have more messages and be spending more money with Twilio. So we've tried to even that out a little bit. But of course, it's not just outgoing messages, it's also incoming messages and the back and forth. So it just depends on how much messaging you're doing. It can potentially cost you less than before if you're not doing that much messaging, or it could potentially cost you more if you're doing a bunch of follow-up campaigns, having really long conversations, getting a high response rate. However, you're really going to find more deals in those Verizon leads. And so the potential of revenue is much higher with this. And so that's not to be overlooked. And so to show you, we've actually come up with this ROI calculator. If you want a version of this, we can send it to you. Just email support@leadsherpa.com. We will send you the calculator so you can kind of see, okay, if I sign up with Twilio, what will my total cost be? And so this is based on some averages, but it gives you a really good idea. So here you can see, and we've done total costs in here. So your total cost, including skip tracing, if you're skip tracing with us, is included in this example. You can choose your plan if you want to be on Starter, Core, Pro, or Enterprise, how many uploads you're doing per month, how many messages you're sending. And so in this example, we are uploading 10,000 messages or prospects per month. So we're assuming about 10,000 initial messages are going out. And then we are guessing we're sending about 500 messages a day. This may go up or down. And so this will actually just tell you if you need more phone numbers, because there is 79 messages per number per day limit with Twilio. So this will let you know, hey, you need to buy more phone numbers if you plan on sending X amount of messages, and your follow-up campaign as well. And so this takes all of that into consideration for some costs. So our skip trace is going to be $1,500. The plan for core is $400. You're going to pay $30 for your phone numbers with Twilio. In this example, we don't need any additional phone numbers. The cost to send, your initial messages to all 10,000 people will be $75. And then follow-up campaigns, $52.50, because we're going to be following up with about 70% of the list that did not reply. And then there's also an average number of text exchange. So the texts that come back and forth when you're having a conversation with those that did reply. And so all that considered, it comes to about $2,192. Remember, there's a $1,500 skip trace fee included in this because we want to look at your total cost for the system. But without that, the total cost is fixed cost is $430. But based off of an average deal size of 12,000, and again, if we send this to you, you can play with the numbers, you can adjust it. Maybe your average deal size in your area is less or more. Maybe you're sending less messaging, maybe you're sending more. You can adjust this all and it will update. But your ROI, if you're getting $12,000 and doing just one deal per month, your ROI is still huge. So 447% ROI, that is great. But lots of this, is a variable for you. And so you can play with the numbers. Just again, reach out to support if you want a version of this to see kind of how to expect your pricing when you do integrate with Twilio. All right, I think I see a question in the chat. Brian's asking, is the discount automatically applied to the current customers when they remove the Sherpa numbers? No, so it's not automatically applied. You do need to reach out to support and say, hey, I've either already released all of my numbers or I'm ready to release all of my numbers. And so once they confirm that, they will apply the discount for you. Any other questions about Twilio at all? I don't see anything in the chat. If you think of any questions, please let me know. But does everybody see the potential of closing more deals, of course, with reaching 40% more of your list than you were before? I hope so. There's just a lot of value. So some people think, oh, with Twilio, I have to buy my own phone numbers and pay for the traffic, but we're hoping that our discount helps with that, but also just the potential of closing more deals really makes it a no-brainer. You're just reaching that many more people. All right, I don't see any more questions. If you do come up with some, oh, Sasha, you put a plus sign there. I don't know if that means you're writing a question potentially.
Yeah, no. That means in our chat it is if I'm allowed to turn myself in. Just
sure,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that's plus. Okay, so you don't use it. Tell me, just it's not so obvious advantage for me. I cannot understand it being a foreigner. So I will speak with my boss. Tell me just, do we have some time that we need to adjust? And I understand that Twilio is not exactly the part of Lead Sherpa system, so it is just a cooperant. Yeah, it's
yeah,
a kind
that's
of
right. So it's your own Twilio account. It's not a Sherpa Twilio account, so you're integrating your own account. The benefit, though, is that right now you have 40% of your list being skipped because they're Verizon numbers. They're not accepting, Verizon's not accepting messages from Sherpa or from other platforms like us. But when it's your own Twilio account, there's not that block. So you're reaching 40%, that 40% that's being skipped, you're now able to text. So that's a huge chunk of your list that you're currently missing out on that you will be able to message now and close deals with.
Okay, so this is the way to overcome this problem that we have with Verizon for a long time already. Yeah.
Exactly. When you see your skip number and you look at it and it says carrier, that's Verizon. So you will no longer have any more carrier skips.
Okay. Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
and it's also possible that I tell my boss to give you a call, and then you will obviously better explain all the benefits to him. So that is something that you
Yeah,
recommend as well.
definitely.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Amber will probably
Or to Amber.
send you a Zoom link to set up a time to chat. And so
Yep, I'll do that.
regarding your other question I didn't answer, there's no real time that you have to have this done by at the moment. There may be, but we'll let you guys know in the Facebook group or webinar. Potentially at the beginning of May, we may want everybody moved over, but at this time, you've got some time to make the decision. However, the benefit of it, you know, you should want to move over as soon as possible because you want to be able to contact all of those people that you can't currently contact. Brian says, do we have to register ourselves as a company in Twilio? They have a banner saying we have to register by a certain date in April to now get skipped in accordance with the 10 DLC regulation, or will Sherpa do the registration on behalf of us? So right now, we will not do the registration on behalf because it's your own Twilio account. Again, it's not a Sherpa Twilio account, it's your own Twilio account. However, we will post an update with this when we have more information, potentially in the next week or so, if you even have to do this or not, because the 10 DLC thing is all about app to message or app to person. But because we are actually manually sending a message, you are clicking on it and it's a person sending the message, it may not qualify. So once we have more information about this, it's happening across all carriers. It's basically carriers trying to be a little bit more strict with texting. Once we have a more official update from our contacts at the carriers, we will post it for everybody to see and send out an email as well. Perfect. All right. So in the meantime, you don't have to do that. And I think the 10 DLC registration, if you do, the deadline is sometime in June, I believe. But again, once we have more information, we will post it. All right. Cool. So I think those are all of our questions regarding Twilio. If you need more information, do reach out to support@leadsherpa.com. There is also a video on our YouTube channel of how to integrate, but if you just have more questions, do reach out to support. Oh, Brian has one more. I'll squeak it in. If you type
I'm just gonna,
quickly.
yeah, I'm just gonna come in and speak.
Go ahead.
It'll be a little easier
Sure.
than me typing and taking forever.
Sure.
So I was wondering if there's any kind of like future integrations where we potentially can have the numbers like more itemized into like markets, or something where, you know, depending on what number coming from the list, it can automatically kind of choose that, you know, matching of area code in that area.
Right. So right now there's not. So there's that's the one difference right now between Lead Sherpa numbers and Twilio phone numbers. Lead Sherpa numbers, you can have the different markets. Twilio numbers, they're all just grouped together. If you want, it's a little bit manual, but if you're sending, say, a New York campaign, but you have New York and Dallas numbers, so completely separate markets, and you want to use them separately, when you're ready to send the one campaign, you can come and deactivate all of the phone numbers in the one market and only use the phone numbers from the other market. It's manual. We haven't had time to separate, to add this market feature yet. However, we likely will be. We're really focused on some other things at the moment, some big features, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But that's kind of your workaround. If you have, you know, a bunch of different markets, you can hit deactivate so that when you're using or sending your batches, only the active phone numbers are used. But if your markets are, you know, not that far away or all within one state, etc., it doesn't matter really. As long as it's coming from a 10-digit phone number, people are okay with it. They do like to see a local phone number, but you're not sending it from a short code, you know, like a 5-digit phone number. So as long as you're within the state, it should be okay. If you're in completely separate states, you can send it. There's no restriction. I can use my New York phone numbers to send to Dallas. It's no problem. But if you do want to kind of manually do it, you can use that deactivate trick. And then you can just reactivate them when you're ready to use the other ones.
Okay.
Awesome. And then just on that, in case you're wondering, if somebody, replies to a deactivated number, you'll still use that deactivated phone number in that conversation that it is assigned to. So even if at the time, John Doe replies to a phone number that I used, which is now inactive, when I reply to John Doe, it's still going to use that inactive phone number. So the deactivate and activate options only affect the initial batch sends and not the actual conversations happening in the prospect page. Cool. All right, so I'm going to jump over to another topic, which is a big one. We have not covered this yet at all in a webinar or really made it public in general yet. So this little sparkly guy over here is PropStack. And so this is Lead Sherpa's new list stacking software. If you are on an SMS subscription, this is completely free, included in your account. And we will actually have a freemium version of this as well. It's just not live just yet for non-SMS users. So right now, if you have an active SMS subscription, this is just included in your account, no additional fee. We have a lot to come for this. This is the very first version, but there's a ton of new features coming. And so later down the line, we'll have, some really special, awesome features, which will you can pay for an upgrade for. But right now, everything you see here is completely free for you. So if you don't have access to this yet, we do have about, I think, 50 people currently using it. If you're seeing this and you don't have this icon yet, you don't have access to PropStack, reach out to support@leadsherpa.com. We'll give you access right away. So when you come into PropStack, all of your records from past skip traces or SMS campaigns will be automatically populated in here for you. So you may come here and see 573,000 records because if you've done a lot of skip tracing or texting, then everything is here ready for you. Then there is also actually no limit right now on how many records you can add into PropStack. So we basically want everybody to use this as their database. So it's not necessarily for SMS, but it plays nicely with SMS, not necessarily for skip trace, but plays nicely, or for our future products. But if you are using a dialer or direct mail or anything outside of Sherpa, you should still dump all of that data in here so that you can stack it and focus on the right people. So you can come and hit import. And if you have a divorce list, a bankruptcy list, a tax default list, a vacant list, you should tag it as that niche so that all of the records then that get uploaded in that file are tagged as their distress indicator, we call them. So distress indicators are what we refer to as basically your list types, but that the ones that tell you that that property owner is under some distress. You may have a list type for high equity or a list type for golden address, which are things that don't necessarily tell us they're under distress. And so they're not going to count toward the distress indicators. But it's really important to tag your files when you're importing it so that you can use, of course, the list stacking feature. One thing I'll say before I get into kind of the filters, for your past campaigns, all of your past data that's already in there. If you weren't, we've had tags for a long time, but not everybody has used them. And so if you have not been tagging your data already, you can do one of two things. One, if you still have that original list and you know where it came from, you know the niche type, you can come to PropStack, hit import, and just re-import it. And it will recognize the match. It's the whole point of list stacking is recognizing property matches. So it's not going to create duplicates. It will say, oh, you already have this, but we're going to now append this new tag that you are uploading it with to this property record. So you can do that. You can come and just import it, or you can come to your old SMS campaign. And if you have campaigns that you named specifically, you know, as vacant or something, let's say, or this one's absentee. So I can come here, click on the list, and then hit this little tag icon in the top right corner and hit add tags. And so I would hit this, hit update prospects, and then it will go and tag all of the records in this campaign with that tag, and it will update that record then in PropStack as well. So those are your two options for all of your already uploaded data. One, just re-import it into PropStack with the right tag, or you can go back at the campaign level and apply those tags that way. Then the whole, you know, purpose of doing this stacking is seeing, you know, I have 123 Main Street that was on these 3 different files or 3 different lists, and I didn't even realize it. So unless you're sitting there and cross-checking all of your files in Excel, you wouldn't realize that, for example, a property has 3 or more distress indicators. But when we're importing into Sherpa and tagging our data, we realize, hey, this person's on absentee, bankruptcy, pre-foreclosure, probate, and vacant, and I didn't even realize. But because when we're importing into Sherpa, we're recognizing that property record and appending all of the different attributes to that same record. Then you can come here and use this distress indicator scale and look at, wow, all of these people are really under distress and I probably want to focus on them. And then you can use all of your other filters here and see, okay, maybe you want to do it by lead stage. Maybe you only like looking at certain properties with certain tags and you don't like to include the ones that have high equity or whatever. But the owner status is one that I really like, because if you're looking at your old data, then you may want to come here and say, I never found the owner for these properties. So 3 or more distress indicators, and these are the properties that I never found the owner on. So I want to then take action on these. I want to select all of my records and push to an SMS campaign, or skip trace them if they're not skip traced, etc., so that I can go back to these people and contact them again, because maybe I haven't contacted them since April 2020, March 2020, and I need to do that because they're still in a tough spot, and maybe probably a more tough spot than they were back in March 2020, and so I should contact them again. I can click also on the prospect records tab. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog in the background, that's working from home for you. But let me go to leave tab. So here, so this is the property records tab. This is where I can see, okay, this is the property. I've got 3 prospects associated with this property. But if I click on the prospect records tab, then I can look, this is actually how the prospect search used to be, where it's just per prospect, per phone number. Instead of grouped together by property, prospect records, I can see, okay, these are all of the prospects specifically that meet this criteria. And so I may want to click on a prospect and then click on messages, and I can shoot off a message right here because I've maybe gotten my list down to 5 records or 20 records or whatever, where I, instead of blasting out a really general initial message, I'm going to be really specific in my messaging and say, hey, haven't spoken to you since February. And be really specific in my messaging instead of just doing a really general initial message that doesn't really speak to the last conversation we had. And then I can hit next and move on to the next one, and hit next and move on to the next one. So I can really make sure that, you know, this really under distress list I'm paying attention to and not overlooking any leads that I might have overlooked otherwise. Let me see. Okay, great. I was just seeing if potentially we had any questions on the way. No, we have not. All right. So as I had mentioned, there are these other filters here as well. So here I may want to specify, I like dealing with bankruptcy lists. I don't like dealing with, I don't know, probate. And so then I can hit apply. And these are all adding together. So now I'm not going to get any property records or prospect records that include probate because I don't want to deal with that, but I do want to deal specifically if they have bankruptcy with a combination of other tags. Maybe I want to look at people that I marked as priority that also go along with all of these other filters so that I can come back and see, you know, I marked this person as priority for a reason. Did I follow up with them? And if I haven't, you know, maybe I haven't even messaged them before at all, or maybe I want to push, if this was a larger list, to a new campaign, etc. So you can use all of these filters together and make it a really, really powerful tool for your specific follow-ups. So instead of doing this approach where we're just blasting out messages to an entire county and hoping somebody replies or is a lead, we can get down to a really specific list. And instead of wasting time messaging thousands upon thousands of people, we're focusing and following up on those that we know are more likely to sell. We have some additional filters here as well. So you can put push to SMS yes or no. For the most part right now, you probably have all yes if you're an SMS user, but once you start importing data here before pushing to campaign, you'll then use push to SMS no. And then if you want to push them over to an SMS campaign, you can do that. Skip trace as well. So there's no requirement for uploading data into PropStack. You may only have a property address, but no phone number, and that's fine because then you can put skip traced now, apply. So we can see here we have no phone numbers here because they're not skip traced, and do take action and then skip trace. This is also really powerful if not in that use case, but also if you have skip traced a bunch of data before, but you didn't always get 100% hit rate. So now you can go re-skip all of those ones that didn't return data to now try to get contact information back, because maybe you skip traced them a long time ago or even recently, but just didn't get data back. And so you can re-skip them all now. Opted out as well. You can archive data. So you can select these and you can hit archive. It's still going to be in your PropStack. However, they will not return if they're archived in your results of filtering. So if you have old data that you know you don't want to look at anymore, or people that you have closed deals with that you don't want to necessarily contact anymore, you can archive those and unarchive them if you ever want to come back to them so that it's not returned in your results anymore. So that's really the overview of all of the filtering options we have now at this time. But we've got a ton of additional filters coming and cool other features coming. If you ever are in here and notice, hey, I would really love to be able to filter by this, or if this feature was in here, let us know, because we're really, really listening and we want to make sure that we're providing answers to your problems with this feature. Is there anything else I wanted to mention? Actually, there's a big thing I'm missing. Let me clear my filters. So a huge benefit to using our PropStack is that we are layering an additional layer of data on top of your records. So if you come here and hit property info, you'll be able to see property details. So how many bed, how many bath, the last sale date, the last sale price, the year build, the legal description, the square footage, etc. This is information that you're not actually uploading into Sherpa, but we're appending it for you. So we have this information from a source that people actually buy data from. It's a reputable source, but we match that and say, okay, this property address matches this record. And so we append all of this data for you. So that's really huge. And actually, once you're in here, we don't have it just because it's based off of having an SMS subscription and we don't have one, but there will be an additional filter here for being able to filter by the last sold date. Actually, let me go over quickly to our demo account so you can see it. So there's a last sold date here. You will all have this as long as you have an active SMS subscription. And so then you can say, I don't want to look at anybody who has recently sold their property because that's just going to be a dead lead. But maybe I want to go back to, you know, anybody who hasn't sold in the last 5 years. Apply, apply, and then it will return. This is our demo account, so it doesn't have anything, but it will, and you can use this in conjunction with your other filters so that you're then not going to look at any properties that have been recently sold, which is huge because those are just going to be a waste of your time and money. So that you can filter by. You can't filter by the other information here as of this time, but in the future you will be able to, but you will be able to view all of these property details so that you can make sure that it's a home you want to be considering. All right, let's see. We've got 3 minutes for questions. Is this just stacking our list that we have uploaded, or does it cross-reference Sherpa database as a whole? So if you are using our skip trace, so one, it's really important that you tag your own data, but two, we will auto tag your data for you if you're using our skip trace. So skip trace has all of these different data points that get returned. It has bankruptcy, it has a deceased flag, it has a vacancy flag, absentee flag, lien judgment, pre-foreclosure. It has all of these. And if you are using our skip trace, it will auto tag those things for you. However, all of the records that are in here, if this is your question, Brian, all of the records that are in here are only the records that you have added to the system. So this is not, you know, if this was Sherpa's entire database, there would be millions upon millions of records. But these are all of your records that you have added via SMS or skip trace, and the ones that you newly import once you're using it as well. And so some things will auto tag for you. You'll have to manually tag some, and then you'll be able to stack all of that data. Do we have any other questions regarding PropStack? Again, this is the first time we are showing this publicly. We're still technically in beta. You can see our little beta flag here. So if you do get access, if you want access, reach out to support@leadsherpa.com. We'll give it to you right away. No questions asked. There's no additional fee or anything. And it will really help you be specific in your follow-up. So make sure you're not overlooking any leads, but also help you with all of your new data you're importing to make sure you are not wasting time on tire kickers. But we're still in beta, so any kind of bugs or anything that you find, anything you love or don't love, we want all of that feedback. So once you're in here, you can see this little feedback guide. And so you can tell me, you know, I loved this, I hated this, or I'm neutral about it, and tell me about the bug you experienced or anything like that, because we are still just in beta. We're still finding some things along the way. And so getting that feedback from you is extremely important. Let me see, anybody else? All right, so I don't see any questions, which I'm a little bit surprised about, but no problem at all. If you want access, again, reach out to support@leadsherpa.com. And I will also say, if you are interested in beta testing the very first version of a new direct mail software that we're offering, which will play really nicely with PropStack, also do reach out and let us know if you would like to test direct mail. It will be at a discounted price for the first 2 weeks of April for our beta testers. And so if you're interested in sending postcards, please let me know, as we're looking for some beta testers. You will be able to use PropStack here, hit take action, and then push to a direct mail campaign as well. All right, that brings us to the end. Did we have a really quick question, Rob?
Yeah, so kind of like what Brian was asking. So is this stacking our list, you know, the ones that we had uploaded already? Or are we just like adding each property one by one to this PropStack?
No, so you'll be able to upload in bulk. So you may have a list of 10,000 records. And so you'll just map out your data just like you do when you upload to an SMS campaign, and upload that file. And you'll be able to stack those. It's all your previous data is already in here for you, but you can add all of your data that's not in Sherpa or new data that you buy as well into PropStack. Does that answer your question?
I guess sort of. So basically, it sounds like this is like a repository for all of the lists that we've ever uploaded.
Yeah, exactly. So you want this to be your database. So everything you've already put into Sherpa is here, but you should also add all of your other data that's never been in Sherpa. And going forward, keep on adding data. Every time you have a new list, put it in here so that you can stack your data and focus on the right people.
Got you. Okay, so it's like a little repository.
Yeah, exactly.
And
You
then
just dump it all in there.
Yeah.
And then based off the property tags is how it's going to then, or
Stack.
it's going to stack, and it's only,
Yeah.
Our data that we're uploading into here. So let's say I only upload 3 lists, and I'm only going to have tags for those 3 lists that I uploaded.
Yep, that's right. The more you add to it, the more data you'll have in here. And right now there are no limits to how much data you can put in here. So while we don't have limits, just dump it all in so that you can stack your data and use it within Sherpa, but you can also export it. So you can hit export as CSV to use it in your dialer or to use it anywhere else.
Got you. Real quick question. Another question. That distress indicators, does that where does that come from, or do we determine that?
Okay, so these are the tags. So the difference between tags is that property tags are all the distress indicators, but also the other tags that don't necessarily mean that they're under distress, like golden address or high equity. But you can also come to your account settings page here, click on tag management, and so you can see which tags are considered a distress indicator and which are not. And you can also create new ones. So I can do test tag, I don't know, whatever you would want to create. And I can say, yes, this should be a distress indicator, or no, it should be not, and create that. And so then you can tag all of your data with those tags, the default ones or the custom ones you create. And so then this distress indicators, we can filter by to see, okay, wow, this person has a ton of distress indicators. I should contact them.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Cool. Awesome. Any other quick questions before we jump off? I think that's it. Awesome. Well, if you get in here and play with it and have more questions or feedback, questions or urgent things you need a quick reply to, always email support@leadsherpa.com. But if you're in here and just thinking, wow, I would like to do this, here's some general feedback, just pop it in this tab here because this will come straight to me. All right. Well, I hope that you all have fun with it once you're in there. Just reach out to support if you would like access. And if you have any other questions, you let us know. Thanks, everyone.